July 31st, 1969. Three newspapers in Northern California open their mail and find nearly identical letters. Each one is signed by a man claiming credit for a string of recent murders. Each one includes a piece of a strange, symbol-coded message, and each one comes with a demand. Print this on the front page, or more people die. Police move fast. Editors face an impossible choice, and within days, millions of Americans are reading a killer's own words for the first time. Because this man isn't just confessing, he's performing. Over the next several years, he'll send letter after letter, threats, ciphers, taunts, under one chilling signature: Zodiac. More than 50 years later, no one knows for certain who he was. No one knows exactly how many people he killed, and no one knows whether he simply got away with it. Please continue to like, subscribe, and comment. Don't forget to turn on the notification for our next update. To understand how one man turned a regional murder investigation into a national obsession, we have to go back to before anyone had ever heard the name Zodiac. Back to the victims.
The crimes before the name. Lake Herman Road, December 20, 1968. 17-year-old David Faraday and 16-year-old Betty Lou Jensen are on a date. They pull off onto a quiet, secluded road outside Vallejo, the kind of spot countless young couples used on any given night. Another car arrives. What happens next is still debated in its details, but the outcome is not. David is shot. Betty Lou tries to run. She doesn't make it. Both teenagers die at the scene. Police search for a motive, a witness, a suspect, and come up empty. The killer vanishes without a trace. At the time, no one imagines this is only the beginning. Blue Rock Springs, July 4, 1969. 6 months later, Independence Day. Fireworks over Vallejo. 19-year-old Darlene Farron and 22-year-old Michael Mageau are parked at Blue Rock Springs Park. A car pulls up nearby, idles, then leaves, and they likely think nothing more of it. It comes back. This time the driver gets out, flashlight in hand, and for a moment looks almost like a police officer approaching a park. He isn't. He opens fire without warning, walks away, then returns to fire again, making sure. Michael survives, barely. He becomes the case's first living witness, describing a stocky white man with a wide, calm face, unnervingly methodical. Less than an hour later, a man calls police. In a flat, controlled voice, he reports the shooting himself, and then claims responsibility for Lake Herman Road too. For the first time, investigators realize this is one killer, and he wants them to know it. Within weeks, letters start arriving at newspaper desks. The case is about to stop being local. The letters and the legend. The letters arrive July 31, 1969. 3 newsrooms, 3 envelopes, handwritten confessions to the Jensen, Faraday, and Farron killings, containing details that were never made public. Police compare them against confidential case files. The match is unmistakable. This is their killer. Each letter also carries a fragment of a cipher, rows of strange symbols, circles, crosses, triangles that together form one coded message. The writer's demand is blunt: publish it or he kills again. Not one person, dozens. Editors are stuck between feeding a killer's ego and risking more lives. Police urge caution. The public waits. Cracking the code and the panic growing in parallel. The cipher runs in print. Cryptographers, code breakers, and amateurs across the country throw themselves at it. Days pass. Nothing. The break comes not from a lab, but a kitchen table. Donald and Betty Harton, a schoolteacher and his wife, walking the puzzle at home. Their guess? The killer is likely self-obsessed, someone who'd talk mostly about himself. That assumption cracks it open. The decoded message is chilling. The author says killing gives him a thrill and describes a twisted belief about controlling victims in an afterlife. But there's no name. The final section resists translation entirely. He tells the world almost everything, except who he is. Meanwhile, the case is exploding into public consciousness. Newspapers run daily updates. Television and radio speculate nightly. And in August, a new letter opens with 4 words that will outlive everyone involved. This is the Zodiac speaking. A name and a legend is born.
Lake Berryessa, September 27th, 1969. A quiet afternoon by the water. College students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard notice a man approaching in an executioner's hood, black clothing, and a symbol on his chest, a circle crossed by 2 lines. He claims to be an escaped convict needing money and a car. They comply. It's a lie. He binds them, then attacks with a knife, repeatedly, personally, unlike anything before. Before leaving, he writes on the car door dates, locations, and that same symbol. Brian survives. His account becomes one of the case's most important pieces of testimony, and the symbol on the car door ties this attack directly to the letters. The Taxi Driver, October 11th, 1969. San Francisco. Cab driver Paul Stein picks up a fare. At the destination, he's shot and killed. Inside city limits, near witnesses, near police. A clear departure from the killer's usual caution. He escapes anyway. Soon after, a new letter arrives, this one enclosing a swatch of Stein's blood-stained shirt. Proof and a message. He isn't done playing. The widening net. By late 1969, Zodiac dominates headlines across Northern California. Parents change routines. Teenagers avoid isolated roads. Law enforcement, local, county, state, is under enormous pressure, and the killer keeps setting the terms of engagement. November 1969 brings his most terrifying threat yet. A letter claiming he plans to bomb a school bus. Schools tighten security. Police patrol bus routes. Experts argue over whether he has the means to follow through, but no one wants to find out the hard way. Weeks later, a crude bomb diagram arrives, technical enough that authorities can't simply dismiss it. Whether or not he ever intends to act on it, the fear itself does the job. That, increasingly, looks like the real point. October 1970, nearly a year after Stein's murder, a cryptic Halloween card arrives, dense with hidden phrasing and imagery that researchers are still picking apart decades later. It's proof the killer is evolving, less about claiming crimes now, more about building a persona. The media obliges, coverage is constant, theories multiply, a veteran, a cop, an engineer, a loner, a genius, and a composite sketch built from witness accounts of the Stein murder
becomes one of the most recognized faces in America. Ordinary, forgettable, unsettling, precisely because he looks like no one in particular. Thousands of tips flood in. Neighbors report neighbors, co-workers report co-workers. Handwriting samples, fingerprints, and witness statements are cross-checked against name after name. None of it produces an arrest. The unanswered question. The leading suspect, with caveats. No suspect has ever been definitively confirmed, but one name dominates the case files more than any other: Arthur Leigh Allen. Allen surfaces in the early 1992 after acquaintances tell police he'd talked about wanting to hunt people, owned unusual weapons, and had allegedly used the word Zodiac himself. Investigators take it seriously. Search warrants, repeated questioning, searches of his home and vehicles. Some details seem to line up. He lived in the right area, roughly matched witness descriptions, and notably owned a watch from the Zodiac brand bearing a symbol similar to the killer's signature. But the physical evidence never closes the loop. Handwriting analysis is inconclusive. Fingerprints don't provide a definitive match. Later DNA testing fails to confirm him either. When Allen dies in 1992, the case against him dies with the same uncertainty it always had. Compelling to some investigators, unconvincing to others. The other names. Allen isn't the only theory. Over the decades, journalists, private investigators, and amateur researchers have proposed military veterans, police officers, engineers, each promising for a while, each eventually undone by a mismatched fingerprint, a solid alibi, or a timeline that doesn't hold up. No universally accepted answer has ever emerged. No confession, no trial, no verdict. Only possibilities. And possibilities, unlike proof, don't expire. The cipher that finally broke. For over 50 years, Zodiac's most famous unsolved puzzle, the 340-character cipher, mailed in 1969, resists every attempt to crack it. Then, in 2020, an international team of codebreakers finally succeeds. The decoded message is mostly taunts and boasts about media attention. No name, no confession of identity. Even fully solved, it gives up nothing that ends the mystery. Other ciphers remain unbroken to this day. What DNA can and can't do? Modern forensics have closed cold cases once thought unsolvable, and investigators have tried the same approach here, testing letters, envelopes, stamps for viable biological material. Decades of handling and storage have taken their toll. Some samples are incomplete, some degraded, some inconclusive. As of today, no DNA profile has definitively identified the Zodiac Killer. Technology keeps improving. The possibility of a future breakthrough hasn't closed. Why it's still unsolved? No surveillance cameras, no cell records, no modern databases. Multiple police jurisdictions handling pieces of the same case with none of today's coordination. A killer who chose his moments carefully and rarely left evidence behind. And underneath all of it, investigators still can't say with certainty how many murders truly belong to him. Some are confirmed, others are only claimed. Separating fact from performance has cost decades. Closing. More than 50 years after the first letter, the Zodiac case remains one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in American criminal history. Books, documentaries, films, the fascination hasn't faded, and neither is the frustration. But here's the one thing that is certain, whether or not his name is ever known. The Zodiac Killer understood that fear can travel farther than violence ever does. His murders shocked a handful of communities. His letters terrified an entire nation. And that's the part of his plan that actually worked. If you enjoyed this documentary, like the video, subscribe, and turn on notifications for our next deep dive into history's most fascinating true crime cases. And let us know in the comments, who do you think Zodiac really was? Until next time, stay curious and stay safe.